Diamond B Sports presents the American Sports Cavalcade. A panorama of speed, color, drama, and excitement. The American Sports Cavalcade.
Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Evans. And today, American Sports Cavalcade has come to the peaceful farm of Herb White in Hebron, Ohio. Now, why would a long-running motorsports program like ours pick a very quiet location like this? Well, you see, really, it's not all that quiet one weekend a year. That's when Herb White lives on the edge. I mean, how many farmers do you know that have 3-row-high guardrail in their front yard? You think Herb's maybe a little paranoid about the country line? No, Herb has legitimate reasons for concern. What keeps his eyes wide open is what's across the street. The sand trap at the end of National Trail Raceway's quarter-mile drag strip that is supposed to stop cars that can't.
The track was a little loose. It was a fair, decent run, I thought. I got to the other end, and I let the chute go, and when I let the chute go, I go right to the brake handle and shut the motor off, the fuel off, you know, and, like, I couldn't feel the tug. So I started pushing hard on the brake, and I could see I was running out of area to get stopped. So there's only one thing left to do is let the clutch out and run it down on the motor, and it used up a lot of area, and I kept looking down the track, and I could see this orange fence. And I said, oh, no, not this. But it was comfortable. I mean, it went over, and I know I went over, but it was, you know, it didn't bang me around too bad. I kind of feel all right, but my back pocket's going to be sore.
After all the years and all the races, I am still amazed at the attitude of some drivers after they have destroyed a $100,000 race car. Now, for more on why we're here at National Trail this weekend, here's my buddy Paul Page.
Well, Steve, there's a giant crowd here today, and they're all excited about the annual running of the TRW Sportsman All Stars. Now, that's the annual event that features great drivers like twice world champion Pat Austin as they fight one another in all 8 of the sportsman categories. But it's more than that. It's also an intra-division rivalry within the NHRA. Now, Pat Austin's division, Division 6 of the Northwest, well, they're the defending champions. Each of the divisions, as their drivers and teams move forward, accrue points. And at the end of the day, will also declare the divisional winner. Now, the sportsman categories, of course, are the backbone of the NHRA, and it makes for a real exciting event. Steve?
Let the combat begin, Paul, and the NHRA TRW Sportsman All Stars. And we might as well start with just about the quickest and fastest class of them all, top alcohol dragsters.
Nice thing about running in these particular cars, Steve, is that they are so very, very fast and using some of the biggest engines available in drag racing. They just don't have the nitro that you see in Top Fuel or in funny cars.
But something they do have that their big brothers at Top Fuel Dragsters use are those giant tires. You see Bruce McDowell executing the burnout. Notice how they grow, just like they do in a Top Fuel car. The same size rubber, which is why they run a 2-speed transmission, so that they have the torque multiplication to pull that giant rubber without 4,000 horsepower. Probably around 2,000 here.
They also tend to play with the cars a little bit more, and they don't have the kind of onboard computer that we see in the professional categories. And this top alcohol dragster round number 1 brings Wayne Selko of New Jersey, who is crew chiefed by Terry Smith. They qualified number 4 with a 6:26 up against Bruce McDowell, the number 1 qualifier with a 6:15 out of Bonita, California. His crew chief is C.J. McDowell.
What is a top alcohol dragster? Well, you're looking at the beautiful car of Bruce McDowell from San Diego, California. And this is about 220 feet of chrome moly tubing, all welded together with the driver in the front and the motor in the back. Now, you could reverse this configuration, but most guys prefer all the hot oil back here. Now, the weight of the car is very interesting, and also the rules as to weight account for why you see different types of engines in this category. I got my handy-dandy NHRA rule book. Now, Bruce here runs a great big Hemi. 420. Now, he has to carry 4.40 pounds per cubic inch. The car has to weigh 4.4 per every cubic inch in the engine. Now, he could run 500 cubic inches. The car would be over 2,300 pounds. So he runs about 430 cubic inches, a little over 1,800 pounds. Now, if you were to run a wedge engine, well, you get a weight break, 4.10 pounds per cubic inch. If you ran a true wedge, 3.7 pounds. And it could go down to 2 pounds per cubic inch if you had a little gas-burning small block Chevrolet. You'd never win a race, but you'd have a really light car. Now, behind the engine is the drivetrain, which consists of a 3-speed Lenco transmission and the typical narrow drive line of a top fuel or an alcohol dragster. All in all, they're a very quick car, a very exciting ride, and some of the closest racing in the sport is in this category of top alcohol dragsters.
Well, Steve, the nice thing about it is it makes for a lot of innovation, a lot of variety, and an awful lot of tinkering. So up on the line, it's Wayne Selko and Bruce McDowell.
Carefully they stage, moving the front wheels into the infrared beams. And away first, a good hole shot in the near lane to the dark car of Bruce McDowell. But Selko covers him up. A 6:22. McDowell falling way off his qualifying pace at 6:33, 221 miles per hour. Let's go to Paul on the starting line.
Terry, hot little run against one of the big guns.
Yeah, we were very anxious on that pass because we made a severe clutch change. We went 180 degrees the other way than we'd more be going. We put more clutch in it. Because it was spinning and shaking the tires, we keep taking clutch out of it. We went the other way and put a ton of clutch in it and controlled the motor a lot better. We're really happy with that pass.
Okay, good luck.
Thanks.
And I'm sure the driver, Wayne Selko, is as happy as his crew chief there, Terry Smith. Let's take another look at it, Paul.
Well, in the near lane is McDowell. He definitely gets the hole shot, comes off the line nice and strong. But in the far lane, Selko is getting a little better bite. The clutch situation pays off at the far end, where Selko comes up with a win, beating the #1 qualifier.
Bruce, I know you're disappointed. The #1 qualifier, you went to the line with a lot of confidence, I assume?
Well, I thought so, and I thought we could come out here and run good, run probably a 6.0, and the car left the starting line and shook, and I punched the second gear button, and the shake went away, but I was also behind at that time, so we just kind of lost in low gear, I guess you could say.
Sorry to see you out first time.
We'll do it again next time.
And it's an important win for Wayne Selko because he will have a bye run in the semifinals. We'll be back.
Welcome back to National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio, for our coverage of the NHRA TRW Sportsman All Stars. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page. And Paul, it's time for race number 2 and round number 1 of Top Alcohol Dragsters.
We continue the battle in Top Alcohol as Tim Baxter in the near lane out of Division 5 is ready to take on Amy Falk in the far lane racing out of Division 2.
Division 2 is the South, and Amy Falk is a proud Southerner from Memphis, a former world champion in stock eliminator. And her crew chief is her husband, Ken.
And she will face Tim Baxter, who comes in as a last-minute substitution for Denny Lucas. Now, Tim is crew chief by his brother, Bob Baxter. And it just shows you how much of a family affair running in the sportsman categories indeed is.
You bet you'll find a lot of that. And a lot of state pride as well. Tim Baxter's car called the Jayhawker in the near lane. He uses a big Arias power plant. It's a hemispherical engine, but totally unlike the Chrysler-style power plant that Amy Falk is using, built by Brad Anderson. Amy is the last to stage. They're ready. And Amy away first by a little bit.
And Baxter ready to pull on the power in a real close race. Baxter comes across with the win. It's Baxter, who really wasn't even prepared to run this race at the beginning of the week, comes with a 6:20, 216-mile-an-hour pass to take the win over Amy Falk.
And you know, Paul, if you consider Amy had a little hole shot, that all boils down to a dead heat. It took the electronic finish line judge to call this one.
Well, you take a look in the far lane, there's no question about it. Amy Falk got off the line first, picked the wheels up just a bit. But Baxter hooked up nice and solid off the line, begin the acceleration, and then at the finish line, well, he was definitely there and definitely came home the winner of this particular run. Steve?
Tim Baxter, a 6:20, an incredible upset.
Oh, we've had trouble with the fuel system all week. Norm Drazy's been with us all day today. We figured up on the calculator, and I think we're getting closer now.
Well, I'll tell you, you had to have stunned Amy Falk. This is even a bigger upset than we saw in the first race.
Yeah,
You came in as an alternate.
Yeah, it was a 673. We kept dropping holes. Now we got her dialed in.
You know, most racers, a few hundredths they'll take. You dropped a half a second.
Well, thanks to Norm Drazy. He's helped us a bunch.
Supercharged wizard Norm Drazy getting credit for this one. Wow.
So Tim Baxter out of Division 5 moves ahead, and we're about to see who he will face. Will it be Earl Datweiler in the near lane out of Division 3, or Tom Conway in the far lane coming out of Division 4?
You know, one thing you'll notice if you're a regular follower of NHRA drag racing competition on American Sports Cavalcade, unlike the top fuel cars, these things don't sit on the starting line and just rattle and bounce and bang on the tires because they don't have that nitromethane fuel. But you know, Paul, what I enjoy about these cars is they have a very pleasant exhaust note, and you can hear the supercharger over the engine winding down court. And hear guys like Tom Conway actually shift the gears down the racetrack. Tom from Seminole, Oklahoma, along with his wife, Linda, who serves as the crew chief, Tom says.
And they face Division 3's Earl Datweiler. Out of Herscher, Illinois, the number 5 qualifier with a 631, another family affair. Todd Datweiler is the crew chief on the machine.
And in this TRW Sportsman All Stars, it's more than just driver against driver. There is another side of the competition, which is the various NHRA regional divisions, kind of a intramural drag racing going on. Datweiler is allowing Conway to move up there first. Some drivers like to be in early, some like to get set at the very last second. Everybody has their own taste. Staging so very, very important. They both do it perfectly.
Conway in the near lane gets away first. He's definitely the man to beat here, but look at Datweiler.
Datweiler has come from behind to defeat Conway. A 6.18 at 218 miles per hour. Defeats a 629 at 213. Paul's with the crew chief.
Todd, good little run there.
Yeah, we're starting to come around. We struggled most of the beginning of the year, but we're coming back now. We heard a lot of parts, and we're starting to get it figured out finally.
Now you're going to face Tim Baxter.
Yeah, we're going to have to keep up with it. Tim, he came around that run too, so we're going to have to step on it a little bit.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, they may have to step on old Earl, too, because in replay, you can see that he just got drilled on the starting line by Conway. Conway off the mark first by over 0.04 of a second, and that is just a train length in today's drag racing, Paul.
Well, no question that Datweiler was slow at the switch, but look here, he made up for it at the far end as the revs and power really pay off, and he comes across the line first. So as a result of the racing in round number 1, it will be Earl Datweiler against Tim Baxter. Upsets here in round 1. Datweiler will have the lane choice, and of course Wayne Selko has the good fortune of a bye run when they go to the top alcohol semifinal.
In all 3 races in the top alcohol dragster first round, the slower car has won. And Earl Datweiler, you're going to love this elapsed time, a 6:18.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've never won the teens before.
I knew that.
I love it. I love it. That's fantastic.
What's responsible for it?
Well, we heard a lot of stuff early, and we just got real safe, and we've just been trying to come back. It's just that's all I can say. My guys worked real hard.
That's what it takes.
Yeah, for sure.
Headed for the semifinals. A round of 4 is Earl Datweiler. Well, in this case, the round of 3.
Well, first time in the teams for Earl Datweiler. He'll face Tim Baxter in the semifinals. Meantime, back in the pit area, Bob Newberry, a top engine man in his own right, is preparing for his competition against Bucky Austin. We'll be back.
Well, here at National Trail Raceway at the NHRA TRW Sportsman All Stars competition, we're about to see some of the largest engines in all of motorsports. The power plants under the fiberglass replica bodies of the top alcohol funny cars. I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page. And Paul, these beauties top 500 cubic inches.
500 plus, a magnificent sized machines. Bigger, in fact, than the motors that you'll see in the funny car out of the Nitro division. We're taking a look at Pat Austin, who is in the far lane out of Division 6. He's ready to take on Division 5's Vern Motes.
It's not all that hot today here in Central Ohio, but it's very humid. And when you're wearing a 5-layer fire suit, as Vern Motes and Pat Austin are, sometimes you'll see them open that emergency hatch to get a little air conditioning inside one of these funny cars. It can really spell a little relief for the driver.
Well, this is round number 1 of Top Alcohol Funny Car. It sees Vern Motes out of Des Moines, Iowa. His car crew chief by Bob Massey. and they qualified number 6 with a 6:35 as they face two-time world champion Pat Austin, the number 2 qualifier out of Tacoma, Washington, with a 6:11. His crew chief is his dad, Walt Austin. Earlier, Steve took a look at their car.
For the most part, alcohol funny cars are quicker and faster than alcohol dragsters. But if you read the NHRA rulebook, that's no surprise. Remember the alcohol dragster, limited to 500 cubic inches? Not so in the funny car set. This is a monster motor. They can be as big as 557 cubic inches. Now, also, the dragsters have to pack 4.4 pounds per cubic inch. The alcohol funny cars like Pat Austin's here, well, it's a little more lenient than that, only 4 pounds. Now, there's an 1,800-pound minimum on this car, but few cars meet that because Pat Austin runs a huge motor, way over 500 cubic inches, so the car tips the scales at about 2,100 pounds. Now, the basic engine philosophy, the same as the dragsters, the funny cars also use the 3-speed transmission, but of course are fitted with the fiberglass body. And we thank Pat and his crew for removing the body so we could get this good close look at an alcohol funny car. In fact, maybe the best in the sport.
And Pat Austin has been the winner in the last 2 Sportsman All Stars in top alcohol funny car. He now sits in the far lane. It is Moats in the near lane.
Even though Vern Moats has been racing decades longer than Pat Austin, he knows that Austin really carries the big stick here. The world champion in the category.
And Austin with a hole shot. He really gets a run on Vern Moats and carries it all the way to the finish line. Austin with a 6:02.228.
But the parachute has blown off a Vern Moats car. Moats, on one of the shortest drag strips on the entire tour, does a brilliant job of getting that car stopped. Let's go to the line and pull.
Well, good little run there. Pat just continues to thunder down the strip.
Well, we're real happy with that run, but we think it'll go quicker. We were kind of scared to smoke the tires. We've been having a lot of problems with that. It was a little soft, but it was a nice run, and we're real happy.
Heavy air, cool temperatures, good day to run.
Oh, it's beautiful. This is beautiful.
All right, good luck.
And that was a beautiful win by Pat Austin. What a number, a 6:02. It's time for the next pair of the fiberglass flip-top fantastic. This is Danny Townsend. Danny, formerly a competition eliminator racer where he won a number of NHRA titles and moved up, if you can call it moving up. It cost a little bit more to run here. They go a little bit faster, but the competition no less keen. He's, oh, look at him blazing tires, Paul.
Danny Townsend out of Division 3 will face this man, Grady Bryant. And the winner of this round will go against Pat Austin. Steve?
Well, finally, one of these races runs according to form. Pat Austin, a 6:02.
Oh! We needed that. We needed it. Been struggling a little bit. We're just trying to get it going, you know, and the air's so good today and the track's good. You're at a national event and you got air like this, you got to step on it and get a 6:02.
That's about as good as you've run, very close to it.
That's a PR. That's personal record for us. We like
PR. I like that.
That's an old, that goes back to high school and track. PR, personal record. That's it.
Great job.
Thanks. Thanks.
So Pat Austin finally looking good again. The air nice, heavy, and cool here. Makes for good carburation. Danny Townsend backs up, ready to face Grady Bryant. Steve?
Everybody down here is saying what a tremendous job Vern Moats did of keeping this funny car out of the sand trap. That was a veteran if I ever saw one.
Well, the parachutes, the bracket come clear off the bottom, the bolt come out of it. I didn't know that at the time, but there wasn't any parachutes, and I went for them again. And then I hit the brakes hard, and these four-wheel brakes worked good. But then I started getting a little sideways there at the end. I had to straighten it back up and then get back on the brakes again. It worked out okay.
Part of the technique is to not get it bouncing too hard on these big balloon tires.
Yeah, that's it. It did start bouncing, and you might as well just forget it and let it settle down because you can't brake when it's bouncing.
A couple of years ago, without four-wheel brakes, you would be in Farmer White's front yard, I think.
Yeah, you sure would be.
Part of the technique, too, is to have the common sense and the presence of mind to know how to get it stopped, Steve.
Absolutely, and no one has more experience in this kind of race car than does Vern Moats. Driving the beautiful black funny car in this confrontation will be Grady Bryant from Hurst, Texas, and his crew chief is yet another wife, his lady Jan. And up against that duo will be Danny Townsend. Now, Danny qualified much, much quicker than did Bryant, a 6:19 compared to a 6:62. And some of the credit for that has to go to this fella, Doug Ritchie, Townsend's crew chief.
So it'll be Grady Bryant in the near lane. Out of Division 4, Danny Townsend over on the far side as they both inch up the stage now. Still a lot of the psych games being played here in the Sportsman that we see in the top professional categories. The revs come up as they take a look in the lights.
Good start. Both drivers off the mark well. But it is Danny Townsend who had problems, had to get off the throttle, and Grady Bryant Hearst, Texas goes on to win it at 6:42. No shoot again on Grady Bryant.
And he's not going to get it stopped. See, he heads straight for the sand trap and all the way over. Bryant with a crash down in the sand trap. The front end of the chassis bent all around there. That's Ronnie Davis from the NHRA Safety Safari, one of the top paramedics in his field. And obviously he is talking to Bryant, so Bryant apparently is okay and able to talk to his rescuers.
Well, Grady Bryant was carrying far more speed than Vern Moats, which is why he got into the gravel pit. It's really more gravel than sand. Now watch the front end. There he's got a lot of speed, and suddenly that speed comes to nothing, and he is picked up by the air traffic controllers at the Columbus airport.
Well, Bryant went through the traps at 217 miles an hour. That kind of speed absolutely mandates that you have the chute behind you to get the thing slowed down. Well, with no chute, all he could do was hope that the engine would carry it down a little bit and pump the brakes. That took him into the trap at the end. When the nose went in, look at that, a perfect pirouette as it flipped end over end and almost got it right back on the wheels. But when the front end hit in, it just bent the front of the car around. But Ronnie Davis was right there, and apparently Grady Bryant is okay. Steve is still close to the accident scene, standing just a few yards away.
The situation down here is that Ronnie Davis, NHRA's emergency medical technician, is with Grady Bryant. The car has been righted. Grady says he's okay, that he feels fine, but that they're taking every precaution. And I believe they're going to escort him over to the ambulance and let him sit there for 15 or 20 minutes to be absolutely sure that he's okay.
And look at him give the thumbs up to all of his rescuers around him. Grady Bryant is all right after that situation, but it will give Pat Austin a bye run in the next round. We'll be back with more from National Trail.
More supercharged excitement coming your way from National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio. I'm Steve Evans and Paul Page, and you're looking at the next pair of supercharged alcohol funny cars in the NHRA TRW Sportsman All Stars competition. And Paul, there is one of the brightest men in automobile racing, Brad Anderson.
Absolutely, a man who really knows his engines. As a matter of fact, he supplies engines and the heads for those engines to many of his alcohol competitors. Brad Anderson out of Laverne, California. The machine is taken care of by his daughter, Shelley, qualified number 3 with a 6:12. They face, of course, Terry Mullins out of Division 2. Mullins qualified number 2 with a 6:11. And the crew chief on the car is Howard Moon.
And the fact that Mullins out-qualified Anderson doesn't mean a darn thing, because Brad Anderson is known to be an experimenter. He goes out there and every run he tries this and he tries that. When it comes time for actual competition, he bolts on the things he knows will work. And let me tell you, if you give Brad Anderson a piece of metal, he'll do something darn smart with it.
An absolute craftsman in the far lane, Brad Anderson. Terry Mullins pulls up to the stage on the near side. Anderson moves in. Mullins moves in.
A good start, dead even off the mark. Anderson asserts himself at the far end. Brad Anderson, you bet, he's right with the best. 6:11 to a losing 6:21, 223 miles an hour for the winner. Let's go to Paul Page with Shelley.
Good little run there for the Anderson family.
Austin got an 02, we got an 11. We got work to do.
All right, good luck.
Well, a 6:11 would normally be an opportunity to celebrate, but not when Pat Austin just laid down that 6:02. And here you're looking at a man who accomplished what all the alcohol drivers dreamed about, being the first into the 5. Earlier this year, Bob Newberry in that beautiful yellow, red, and blue machine accomplished that feat on his home racetrack in New Jersey.
And on the near lane, racing out in Division 6 is Bucky Austin. Now, Pat Austin, you've already seen him in competition here in Top Alcohol Funny. Well, this is his uncle, so there's the real possibility of a family affair in the final round. Steve?
Brad, Terry appeared to react first by just a bit off of the starting line.
Yeah, I think I was a little late. He was ahead of me at one point, I know, and then it drove around him.
Well, a 6:11, you tend to do that with those kind of numbers.
Is that what it went?
Yeah.
Well, we're going the right direction anyway, so yesterday it slowed down, so I feel better about that.
Well, I know you saw on the board Austin's pace-setting 6:02. Can you run with that?
Oh, I think so, because my customer, Peter Galen, ran an 03 a while ago, and we pretty well know what they're doing.
Okay, see you in the semi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, Brad's reference there to Peter Galen and the others are that during the Sportsman All Stars competition here today, all of the Top Alcohol Funny cars are qualifying for another event to be held here at National Trail tomorrow.
Well, there is the machine of Bob Newberry, and you can bet even Brad Anderson has to be concerned about what Newberry will do here in the first round. Will he run into the 5s? We've already seen a 6:02. Bucky Austin accomplishes the dry burnout, or the racers call it the dry hop. Bucky was checking to see just how the clutch and the traction would react to each other and see how his crew chief, Tim Piashu, had set the car up, if it's going to work or not.
And they will face the incredibly quick Bob Newberry racing out of Division I in the Northeast, Schenectady, New York. Ed Copper is Newberry's crew chief. They qualified #1 with a 6:02.
All right, Newberry is moving forward. He'll be in the right or far lane. He is right up into those beams. Bucky Austin has still not really made a move towards staging, Paul.
In fact, Austin is taking plenty of time about moving forward. Of course, he's trying to rattle Newberry as best he can. Now both cars are up into the lights and ready to go. Bucky Austin keeps an eye on that Christmas tree. Bring the revs up in this top alcohol-powered machine. Finally, he moves into the lights. They drop the green, and because of it, Austin is able to get the whole shot. But Newberry pours on the power at the end, and Newberry takes the win with a 6:03.229.
Well, I'll say he poured it on. 6:03, very close to low ET of the day.
Ed, good little run with an 03.
It wasn't too bad. The car got out of shape. Shook, I believe, in the starting line. I think his opponent there held him on the light too long.
You've got to face Anderson next round.
Yes, we do.
Any problems there?
I don't think so, no.
Pat Austin's the target, right?
Yes.
Good luck. Thank you. Steve?
Well, a wise racer, Paul, told me one time you can only be burned down on the starting line if you allow that to happen to yourself. And Newberry did. He just moved right up there, and Bucky took his time and was really ready to anticipate the light. A perfect 4-0 light. You can't cut him any better than that. But his 6:22 was not enough to handle Newberry.
Well, despite the fact that he was caught sleeping, Newberry still ran a 6:03, but still quick of the round as Pat Austin 6:02. So the pairings for the semifinal round. Brad Anderson will face Bob Newberry. Newberry will have the lane choice. Now the other pair is scheduled to be Grady Bryant and Pat Austin, but of course we saw that Bryant's car is destroyed. He will not make the round.
Well, one thing we knew for sure even before he took his helmet off, that Bob Newberry is not a pleased driver over what happened on the starting line. Bob, your version of it.
Well, there's always some sportsmanship involved in drag racing. I just felt I sat on the starting line much longer than what I should have.
That accounted for possibly you being a bit late off the mark.
Well, that maybe has nothing to do with that. That's up to me to still drive my car the way I should.
You had the performance. A 6:03 did it for you.
We're happy. As long as we win, we're happy.
Okay. He's going to put that behind him and head for the semifinals.
May be happy with his own run, but he's certainly not happy with what happened at the starting line. In the meantime, back in the pits, Tim Baxter and his crew goes to work on their top alcohol dragster as they prepare to face Earl Datweiler. We'll be back.
Well, it's not all work in Earl Datweiler's pit area. One of the crew taking time out to broil up some burgers for the hard-working gang, getting this alcohol dragster ready to meet Tim Baxter in the semifinals. But right now it's time for one of NHRA's most interesting and competitive eliminators. It's called Competition Eliminator. They do things differently here, including heating up the rear tires almost sitting still. Now here you're going to see that tortoise and hare style of drag racing, as it's the handicaps that make it all work, where you can combine literally dozens and dozens of classes of cars into one eliminator. And NHRA assigns an index, a performance factor to each class. And in this pair, we'll see Rick Hord's F. Altered up against Todd Patterson. Now, Todd Patterson has a C Economy Altered. Far different automobiles as far as the potential power. So that's where the handicaps come into play. C Economy Altered, a 920 index. Rick Hord, an 880 index. So the slower car, Patterson, will leave first by 0.4 of a second. Simple, right, Paul?
It really is. It is when you see it happen. And, of course, the game is one of catch-up. Someone has an advantage when they leave the line. One car leads first, then the other. But it's still who gets to the other end first.
Well, Todd Patterson took full advantage of his 0.4 of a second, but also cutting a good line, and coming from behind is Rick Hord. Hord wins it, just a squeaker. 831, 161 miles per hour to an 870 at 154.
Now watch the car in the near lane. The green light comes on first there by a full 0.4 of a second. So the job now goes to the car in the far lane. That's Rick Hord. He has to play catch up. His engine is capable of producing better power at the far end. That's the way they see it in the index. But when it comes down to the line, it's Rick Hord who just inches his way across with the 831, 161.
And our next pair really demonstrates the wonderful variety of competition eliminator. There on the right-hand side of your screen, you see a little Opel GT as the camera moves over to a late model Chevrolet Beretta. But both are powered by similar motors, the small block Buick V8 engine.
So here in the far lane, racing out of Division II, the southeast of the United States, is Winston Holmes. Holmes comes out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. He faces Joey Heffernan, racing out of Division I. Heffernan in a B Econo Altered against the C Altered of Winston Holmes.
And as we look at the tail of the Christmas tree, it's obvious that Heffernan, with a slower index of 885, will be leaving first by 35/100ths of a second. Now, it's hard, Paul, to sit there and wait and watch your competition go down. It's got to be brutal on the mind.
Well, you really can't pay attention to the car in the other lane. All you have to do is focus on the Christmas tree. There you see the tree come down. The car in the near lane, Heffernan's car, leads first. Now Holmes comes with the catch-up and gets past, and Holmes goes on to the win with an 8:16, 141, blowing away Heffernan here in round one of Competition Eliminator.
And already the next pair fired in the water box and sliding out with good warm tires. There is the beautiful 85 Camaro. Jimmy Warder from the Northwest Division 6 is at the wheel. It's a borrowed car. But at the wheel of his trusty 63 Corvette is Lindley Eisenhood. Now, Lindley is out of Webster, Texas. So, again, you've got this kind of inter-division rivalry.
And he faces Jim Warder out of Fox Island, Washington. Normally, you'd see Warder in a Corvette. But today, he's borrowed Jack Laster's Camaro. Now, here we take a look at the indexes and the comparison. And Eisenhood will leave 4/10ths of a second ahead of Warder.
You know, I said earlier it must be harder to sit there and wait. But one thing you give the other guy is the first chance to red light. If he does that, you've won without even moving. Ooh, a beautiful light by Eisenhood in the Corvette.
Eisenhood cut a nice one, but take a look at the Camaro as he charges on, and Warder takes the win, charging from behind. Warder with an 878, 152 miles an hour.
Boy, and he just drove right by him, winning it by well over a car length. But there is always some doubt when you're back there trying to play that catch-up game. Well, there's no doubt about who's going to win this next, but none whatsoever. Because Steve Ambrose in that beautiful little Ford-powered six-cylinder dragster has a bye run. He was supposed to race John Johnston, a Nissan-powered six-cylinder rail, but he broke and is unable to make the call. So you can't even red light in this situation, Paul.
No, the red light here would not count. You're simply running down the track in whatever time you can. Of course, part of the game is to see if you can run it as hard as you can so that you can get lane choice coming up to the next round. Certainly, Steve Ambrose has that thought in the back of his mind as they do a final adjustment to that beautiful six-cylinder machine. Steve Ambrose races out of Division III, Woodhaven, Michigan. Very well executed, nice, clean, neat, and very quick machine.
And a lot of good, solid engineering in the induction system area. Now, when you get to this level of competition, most of these racers, Steve Ambrose included, can run well under that index. That index is what the kind of good average car would run. Well, here's an example. Ambrose runs 808 on an index of 835, but that won't be all good news because some of the competition is punishing the index even worse than that.
Well, Ambrose's 808 is the quickest pass of the round, so we take a look at the pairings for the semifinal in Competition Eliminator. Jim Warder will face Steve Ambrose, and Ambrose got the lane choice. Winston Holmes will take on Rick Horde, and Holmes will have his choice of lanes in the semifinals of Comp Eliminator. Now, this is Pat Austin's pit. Next round is not a worry to Pat Austin. Grady Bryant will not bring his car to the line, damaged after that flip down on the sand trap. So Austin will have a bye run, and we'll be back.
Well, word has it from the Grady Bryant pit, believe it or not, that car is nowhere near a total. The crew has already taken a hacksaw and sawed off the bent up front end. They'll weld a new one on during the week. The body got off of the car and escaped a lot of damage. It could be easily repaired, so good news there for the Texan. And here we go into yet another TRW Sportsman Eliminator category, Super Gas.
And in the great-looking little yellow roadster is Robert Baldwin, racing out of Division 5. And he'll face Steve Cohen out of Clearwater, Florida. On the other hand, Baldwin, the #1 qualifier, comes out of Colorado. Earlier, Steve took a look at one of these cars.
There is no such thing as the typical super gas car, and that's one of the reasons it's the most popular NHRA category of them all as far as total participation is concerned. Takes, for example, Jeff Sutherland's beautiful 240 Datsun Z car. Now, the rules are pretty simple in super gas. It has to be a street-type automobile. It's got to be full-fended, have a hood, have a top, have a rear deck, functional doors. Bumpers, however, are optional. In that there's a performance limitation of 9.90 seconds, you don't really need a megabuck racing engine. And what you build in super gas is limited only by your imagination. In fact, Jeff, show us what's under the hood of the 240Z car. How about it? A Chrysler 426 Hemi. And mated behind it is a very simple power glide transmission, a pretty standard unit in super gas, because what's important here is driver and car consistency. You just can't get that with a standard shift.
Boy, that is one great-looking race car. Now, we talked about index in competition eliminator. Here in super gas, the index is all 990. That is to say, you can't run any quicker than a 990 or you break out and you lose.
Unless your competitor crosses the finish line first but runs even quicker than you did under 990. Look at these two 27 Ford Roadsters. Now, the first car across the finish line is Baldwin at 984, so it's Cohen in the near lane who is the winner at 986. He is the closest to the 990 performance limitation. Baldwin, the yellow car, he is going to be kicking himself. He had the better reaction time, didn't have to run that hard. He ran a 984. That was just way too quick, and Cohen, the second car across the line, is the victor.
So the first pair in round #1 of Super Gas at the TRW Sportsman All Stars now complete. There's the car of Ed Selnow. He races out of Division 7. Selnow comes out of San Bernardino, California, and he will face Scott Lehman. Young Scott comes out of Payette, Idaho, racing for Division 6.
Both drivers right now, Paul, have to be thinking, cut the best light possible and win by only what you absolutely have to. Maybe even slow down and let the other guy win and break himself out.
Well, Lehman cut a bad light. He's charging as hard as he can. They both break out. But Selnow, the #1 qualifier, breaks out the least with a 989, 123 miles an hour.
And that was just a classic example. Scott Lehman, as you said, did not cut a very good light. And he was not in the driver's seat to pressure Selnow any more than he could. Selnow knew that and didn't run any quicker than a 989.
In the meantime, back up at the line in the near lane here is Victor Singer Jr., racing out of Division 1. And he will face, out of Division 4, Rick DeCousin, the #2 qualifier from Stratford, Missouri. And Victor Singer Jr., the #6 qualifier out of Division 1 from Portland, Pennsylvania.
Singer, under the hood of his little Vega, has a small block Chevrolet. DeCousin, the great big 454 motor in the Camaro in the far lane. Away first was Singer. And it's a good thing. Singer runs a 993 to DeCousin's 992, but Singer wins it because of good driving like this.
Well, take a look at Singer in the near lane. He cuts a nice little light, while in the far lane, DeCousin gets the front wheels off the ground. Singer is able to just lay the power down, run a nice, even run. You take a look at him now coming to the finish line again in the near lane. Singer is looking nice and clean the whole way and picks up the win.
If you get the light about 80% of the time in this kind of competition, you're going to win. That's how important the driver is. Well, the #1 of the windshield of the Buick Somerset, Vince Curry, tells us that he is the #1 car in the nation in the class, meeting #2.
And that is Ronnie Loomis out of Division 4 from Dickinson, Texas. His opponent, Vince Corey, out of Division 3 from Mount Clemens, Michigan.
Now, both of these drivers utilizing the big block Chevrolet. It's the most popular combination in super gas. In the far lane, for Loomis is another one of the little Datsun 240Z cars with a big American engine transplant. Good light by both guys. And it is Ronnie Loomis, because he's over the index at 993. Corey ran under it at 988. So that sets up the semifinals in super gas. Victor Singer Jr. versus Ronnie Loomis. Singer has the lane choice by running over the index there. Steve Cohen will race Ed Selnow. Cohen will have the lane choice when those two guys get together. The Alcohol Dragster semis coming up.
We're back at National Trail Raceway, just outside of Columbus, Ohio. I'm Paul Page with Steve Evans, and we're at the TRW Sportsman All Stars Challenge, a tremendous race for the sportsman competitors. And we're ready for the semifinal round in Top Alcohol Dragster.
And of course, Tim Baxter, who will be in the far lane, in fact, there he is right now, has had just a storybook kind of a day. He got in as an alternate and then ran a career best in round number 1, and his group person points him to the starting line. Earl Datweiler in the near lane is already there waiting for him. Nobody punishes the engines any harder at the line than the Alcohol Dragster drivers. And something goes wrong with Datweiler's car, and Tim Baxter wins it. But I'll tell you, he got a little lucky there. He went from 620 to 674. He'd have been in trouble had Datweiler had a good run going. Paul's with crew chief Bob Baxter.
With that run of 74, you think you're going to need a bit more?
Oh, we need a lot more. We had a dead hole that run and it shook real bad. Bad run.
Any problem getting her fixed?
I think we can get her handled.
All right, get down there. Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, when these engines are down on power, the car literally shakes because there's not enough horsepower to get it up on the tire, and it struggles through that stage. It's very hard on the car, very hard on the man in it.
Up on the line now is Wayne Selko. Now, the Top Alcohol Dragster field started out as a 6-car field, so this will be a bye run for Selko. But still, he'd like to get a feel for the track and also run as quick as he can when he makes his bypass here, so that he understands this track a little bit better when he comes up in the finals. Let's go to the far end and Steve.
I think the first thing I'm going to do to Tim Baxter is to pinch him. Yes, you are going into the final of the TRW Sportsman All Stars.
Just hoping it didn't red light.
No, you did everything fine, and he had some problems.
Yeah, I saw him shut off probably 200 foot out there and going on by, and our car nosed over at the end, so I got out of it. So I don't know how good the ET was.
Not good at all on the 670s.
670s? Was that right? The tires slipped a lot in the starting line, too.
You can hop it up, can't you, for the final?
Yeah, we can make some changes. We'll be all right.
Okay, Tim Baxter, who would have thought it? The alternate goes into the final round.
Well, back at the line, Wayne Selko knows that he has to shoot for that 674. Buster Couch, NHRA starter, takes a look down the track as Selko comes up, knowing that he wants to run just fast enough to get lane choice for the final round.
That's right. You never know when that could come in very handy. Ooh, that was close. Selko almost left before the Christmas tree was activated, and that would have disqualified him. But with all that, he still gets lane choice. A 655 will have it over Baxter. Let's go to the starting line. Crew Chief Terry Smith.
Well, 655, you look like you're plenty strong enough, and Division I's looking good going into the final round here.
Yeah, well, it would have ran a lot quicker, but being it was a bye run, the red light came on and threw him off. He rolled the start, so car actually moved and started the timer for a couple tenths of a second before he actually made a run, so it would have ran a low 20.
You feel pretty confident then?
We feel confident.
All right, good luck. Steve?
When there's no car in the other lane, as soon as Buster hits that switch, the red light instantly comes on over there to tell you you've won. Well, it almost cost Wayne Selko.
So in the final of Top Alcohol Dragster, Wayne Selko will face Tim Baxter.
Well, Wayne, you've got to be reasonably happy the way this day is going.
Very happy. Very happy.
You get a gift in the semifinals. The car slowed down a little bit, 655.
Well, I had to pedal it. He really got out of shape pretty hard.
Something you might not have done had you had an opponent?
No, we tuned it the same. I probably would have tried driving through it if I had a car next to me, though.
You got everything going for you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Back up at the starting line, it's Pat Austin and his Top Alcohol funny car. He has a bye run because Grady Bryant flipped over down at the far end. His car is heavily damaged. A little while ago, Steve Evans was able to catch up with Grady Bryant for this update.
Well, I'm happy to report that this man, Grady Bryant, after a few minutes in the back of the ambulance, the little birdies all kind of went away and you're feeling good.
I got the cobwebs cleared away. I just kind of depressed, got my feelings hurt. Here we are, 4th in the nation, leading the division, and had a problem like this, but that's racing, Steve.
Well, I doubt you could repeat the exact words as you entered the trap on national television, but I'm sure you knew you were in deep trouble.
I knew I was in trouble. Parachutes didn't open. It's nobody's fault. It's one of those things, but thanks to the sand, we didn't go in the trees, and that's what helps.
Could you have braked any harder? Anything looking back that you would have done different?
No, we had a real good pass going that time, and we were trying to stop as hard as we could. And we got it slowed down. It was a real slow roll, and that's what helped us. We feel good about it, though.
Well, I tell you, when you see the video, you will not believe how high in the air you were.
Oh, you did get a video of it?
Well, you bet.
So as a result of that crash, Pat Austin has the bye run.
And he wants to show Bob Newberry and Brett Anderson, who are waiting in the wings, that he owns this racetrack today. He has low ET of eliminations at 6.02. He loads the clutch, hammers the throttle, carries the front end to half track. And the number on the board, a 6.07 at 229 miles per hour. Paul is with Pat's Pop.
So down just a little bit there. You're still okay?
Yeah, we think so. It run good mile an hour, so it's making good horsepower. We just need to get the clutch adjusted right, and it'll be there.
And getting set for the final. Steve?
Getting that clutch adjusted right, boy, that's the secret in any supercharged class of drag racing. These multiple disc clutches, that's what sheds the excess horsepower so that they don't smoke the tires, and then locks up progressively down the racetrack to try to get the big speeds in a lapse time. I tell you, for any follower of alcohol funny cars, this is a dream matchup. Bad Brad, they call him out in California. Brad Anderson in the near lane, and the quickest of the quick, first into the fives, Bob Newberry.
Two absolute masters with the engine. They love to tinker, they love to play, and they're ready to face one another. Let's go to the far end.
Well, Pat Austin, certainly a beautiful pass under any conditions, but I doubt, knowing who's behind you, that your 607 puts lane choice out of sight for you.
It's probably not gonna, but we went up there. We didn't know what to do basically on the tune-up as far as the fuel system, so we went up there and went to software, and we know what we can do for the final. So.
Let me ask you something. You have a 3-speed transmission. Are you shifting the car manually? Is it done on timers?
No, I shift it.
Where do you make the gear changes?
I go by sound, but I shift into high gear just about the 8th mile cone. That's where I use it for second gear. First gear, it's all just here. You know, mostly it's all here, but I use the cones every once in a while.
The first gear is almost as quick as you can pull it, really.
Yeah, it happens fast. Sometimes it's hard to get it right every time.
Back at the starting line in the far lane, there is Bob Newberry. Newberry beat Pat Austin's uncle, Bucky Austin, to bring himself into this semifinal round against Brad Anderson. Two engine experts on the line now.
That's right, competitors on the racetrack and in business. Oh, what a great one this is going to be. What a great one this is. Oh, what a huge charge ball by Newberry on the top end. 6:04 wins it. Anderson a little out of shape, a 6:18. Let's go to Paul at the line.
Well, Ed, you're set up for a whale of a matchup in the final against Pat Austin. What do you think?
I'm glad we got lane choice. I think the right lane is better than the left.
So you figure your position is all set and you're ready to take him on?
It's never all set, but I think we're in good shape.
All right, good luck. Steve?
The alcohol funny car final is rated a toss-up.
Boy, we've got a great fight scheduled in Top Alcohol Funny for the final. Pat Austin against Newberry, and Newberry will have his choice of lanes. Steve?
Bob Newberry is out of the car, and Bob, you are sawing your way through this field. I have nothing but good news. 6:04, you have lane choice over Pat Austin in the final.
Happy. It's been tough. The weather's not the best of racing conditions here. It's cool, but the barometric pressure's low here in Columbus. It's tough to race at. And 6:0 anything is good.
Do you dare try to run any quicker?
Well, I've been just going one round at a time, and all I'm caring about right now is we win. And really, I'm just going to try to be consistent. Consistency wins races.
Indeed it does. See you then.
Thank you.
Well, back in the Supergas pits, Ronnie Loomis's crew working on the car, ready to face Victor Singer Jr. The semifinals continue right after this.
When you look at Greg Krause's beautiful Super Comp Dragster out of Minneapolis, it's hard to believe that you don't have to spend the family fortune to go drag racing in a pretty quick manner. But it's true. Take a look at that engine. That's not a $25,000 or $30,000 racing engine. It looks like it, but you could build that for about $2,500. It's all you need to go 8.90 seconds, and that's the limit. And if you look in the back of your weekly National Dragster, I'll bet you'll find a good buy in a used chassis, some wheels and tires, maybe even a trailer. For about, under $10,000, you could build a competitive Super Comp car. It just might not be quite this pretty. And also, when you join NHRA, not only do you get National Dragster, you get a rule book, all kinds of goodies. And if you join right now, they'll even throw in a free copy of the multi-award-winning home video, Decade of Thrill. So do it right now, and we'll see you in Super Comp at the races.
Well, up at the line, we're ready for some great racing in the NHRA TRW Sportsman All Stars. This is Comp, Rick Horde, and Winston Holmes.
Winston Holmes will be in the near lane, and here's how it sets up. The D altered index is 880, so Horde will leave 0.3 of a second ahead of Winston Holmes. Watch the car in the far lane. Whether you leave first or second, how close you leave to your green light, your reaction time is critical in this kind of drag racing. No real advantage to either driver off the mark. Holmes veered out of the racing line a bit, and that could hurt him. It is Rick Horde, 8.30 on an 880 index, 161 miles per hour.
And a nice little run. Now, watch here as they come to the finish line. Winston Holmes in the near lane almost caught him. He was really running hard, but it was Rick Horde that came home the winner.
For the second time, Rick Horde gets out of his car with the same question. Who won? And again, I have the same answer. You did.
Thank you. It was close again. Like I said, it was about a foot on the other end. And we may have been a little late off the starting line, but the car must have run well is all I can say.
Good luck to you.
Well, there's the borrowed car of Jim Warder, but it's brought him all the way to the semifinals of Comp in the TRW Sportsman All Star Challenge. Here's the way the handicap will come down. The advantage will go to Warder by nearly a full second.
Now, Warder had his index reduced since the earlier round from a 930 to a 929. You can run under the index, but if you punish it too hard, NHRA penalizes you right on the spot. So Warder has 100th less to work with in the semis than he did in the first round. A red light by the dragster in the near lane. Steve Ambrose has given this one away. Even if he gets around, it won't much matter.
And there may be a good example of just getting too anxious as Warder scores the win with an 879-152. So the scene is set now for the final round in Comp, and Rick Horde will take on Jim Warder. Horde will have the choice of lanes. Back up to the starting line, we're ready for the semifinal round of Super Gas. Ed Selnow will face Steve Cohen. But first, let's go to Steve.
By the look on this man's face, Paul, I'd have to say that, Jimmy, you didn't know he red lighted.
I was out, you know, probably in third gear by the time he left. I had no idea. All I know is he passed me, and I said, oh, man, that's it.
You get a reprieve, my friend.
Oh, man, thank you. Feels good.
Jimmy Warder, Division 6, the Great Northwest.
So the inter-division fight continues here in the All-Stars battle in the near lane. That's Steve Cohen in the Roadster. And there's Ed Selnow.
Let's remember there's no handicap here, just that performance limiter of 990, and neither wants to run under it. Selnow in the far lane may have an advantage. He does, almost a car length. And it's because he had a terrific reaction time. The elapsed times are identical as we watch them again near the finish line. Both run 993.
So with identical ETs, where was the difference? Well, it was back at the starting line in the whole shot. Selnow came off a little bit faster and scored the win. Let's go to the far end, Steve.
You know, they say that Super Gas is about 80% driver and 20% car. Well, here is Ed Selnow, the 80%. Your 993 beat his 993. Your driving beat your opponent.
Must have got him off the line, I guess.
Bet you did. How do you do that so well?
Just a lot of practice, and that's all I can say. We run a lot, and we keep good records and everything, and go different places and keep records and just dial the car as best we can.
There's nothing you can do at home. I know they make some electronic devices and little play Christmas trees. Any of that valuable to you at all? And the kind of practicing your reaction times?
At first, when you get the car, you know, put new parts on it, you test things. But after that, you're kind of on your own. The track is the place to do it.
What do you think? One more round?
One more round. I'm going to do it. I'll see you again.
Great job.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
So Ed Selnow makes it to the finals in Super Gas. Who will he face? Will it be in the near lane, Victor Singer Jr., or Ronnie Loomis on the far side?
And under the hood of the 240Z car in the far lane is that big block 454 Chevy. The little small Chevrolet, the engine the racer is called the Mouse Motor under the hood of the Vega of Singer. And it is a good start by both of them. And at the finish line, it is Singer at 993. Victor Singer Jr. will go to the final round because Ronnie Loomis ran 989.
So here are the pairings for the Super Gas final round. Ed Selnow with Lane Choice over Victor Singer Jr. Steve?
Well, Vic, tell me what happened to enable you to run a 993. Your opponent breaks out on an 89. You win. You go to the finals. How did that all happen on the racetrack?
I really don't know. I don't know what the lights were, but it was real tight upstairs, I'll tell you that. But, you know, the car just worked and left. I think the start line was pretty close, but he just tried to make it a little bit too fast. It was a real good race.
Headed for the final.
Ready for the final two in Top Alcohol Funny Car. This is Bob Newberry's pit area. Final preparations underway as they are ready to face Pat Austin in the final. We'll be back.
Well, here in Central Ohio, the shadows are lengthening, and the finalists in the TRW Sportsman All Stars competition are just now starting to show up in the staging lanes. Now, we have been covering in depth 4 categories. There are 4 others. Eliminations were completed earlier. Let's take a look at those. First, it was Gary Erickson, 71 Vega in the right-hand lane, Dodge Sturgeon, 67 Camaro in the near lane. Off of the starting line, it was Erickson first, and then Sturgeon's car got just a little bit out of shape, and that might have made the difference, because at the far end, it was the car in the far lane. Erickson at 1091 to a losing 1092.
Well, we had to tell Gary Erickson that he had won Super Street in this competition for sure, because you really don't know with the breakout situation.
No, I wasn't sure, but I was sure glad you pointed at me. It sure looked good.
What do you think it ran? We've been playing this little game. You guys are so good at that. You were on a 1090 index. What do you think you ran?
1091.
How do they do it? 1091 is exactly what you ran. Congratulations. You're the champ.
Thank you very much. It's been a long trip, and I really enjoyed it.
And you deserve it.
Thank you.
Well, the competition continued in Super Comp, both between competitors and in this interdivision rivalry. Now, Super Comp are purpose-built race cars. They run on an 890 index. In this particular case, the final round of Super Comp, it is Bruno Massel out of Division 3 in the far lane, facing Robert Sellers from Division 2 on the near side. And it's Massel against Sellers foul. Massel ran a 893, 149 miles an hour.
Well, here's a man who's got to be awfully happy with a pretty red and white Pontiac. And only your second race with a new car, you'll win the TRW competition.
I won it. Oh, thank you. And from Craig, congratulations from you. I really, oh, this is great.
I love this class because he red lighted.
Oh, great, great, great. This is excellent. This made my day. This is great. Meeting you and doing this, this is great. This is great.
Well, telling you made mine too.
Thank you. Thank you much.
I'll go with the winning, but not necessarily with meeting Steve. The next final is the stock final, run earlier. Now, stock is exactly what it suggests. They run on an index exactly like comp, but you cannot break out. This particular run, the final in stock, Grant Lewis in the near side, Mike Walter in the far side, and Lewis with an 1172, 112 miles an hour took the win.
Well, here is a man who was on a tear in stock Eliminator. Grant Lewis, winner at the Cajun Nationals, and now winner in Columbus in the TRW Sportsman All Stars.
How you, Steve?
1172.
That's a good run. I let out a little bit at the end, but what can I say?
You had a little bit of a cushion?
Well, I don't know what the reaction times were, but I seen he was going to get there first, so I'm sure he probably broke out.
Well, the motto anyone should adapt if they're in a breakout sportsman category, win by only as much as you have to.
That's right. And it always don't pay to take the win light.
That's right. Sometimes you can break them out. Good job.
Thank y'all for everything. My pleasure. And we appreciate TRW for doing this.
Oh, boy, don't we all.
And then came Super Stock. Again, they have an index like comp, but again, they can't break out. Now in the near lane, that's Mike Trumbull. He's driving a car that he borrowed from Rick Sherman to face Jim Gorman out of Division 6 in the far lane. And in this particular case, a nice, even fight all the way to the finish line. But it was Trumbull with a 1092, 116 miles an hour. Again, Steve Evans.
Well, as May say, Rick Sherman on the window, but it's Mike Trumbull tumbling out of the car. Congratulations, you've won it.
Thank you.
You had a 1092, I believe, on a 1090, or 1091 on a 1090.
That's what we figured it would go. We checked out the gauges before we ran, and that's what we figured it'd go. I want to thank Dick Sherman because he put the deal all together for us. It was hard for us to, get to make a run and all. And he went and put his car together at 1:30 in the morning the night before just so we could run this deal. So I owe it all to him, really.
Well, that's a real friend.
Yeah, it really is his hometown. So I'm glad
calling TV.
Well, he shares the victory with you. Again, great job.
Thank you.
Well, that was all earlier here at National Trail Raceway, but there are still 4 finals yet to go. And on the line and ready to race is the final round of Super Gas. Victor Singer Jr. faces Ed Selnow.
And Paul, as you know, many of these cars, if not all of them, are equipped with a throttle control device. The driver can leave as hard as he wants to get that car launched, and then they can adjust how it backs off on that carburetor to actually slow the car down so it doesn't run quicker than 990. But they're not allowed to have anything on the car that helps it leave the starting line.
Selnow on the far side with a great light. But here comes Singer looking good. And Singer right at the index with a 990, 133 miles an hour. Victor Singer Jr. takes the win. Now take a look at Selnow on the far side. An almost perfect light. Car comes off the line and begins to settle down. Singer now is playing catch-up, but he's got a pretty good run going as well. Remember, they're both very conscious of the index. Coming to the finish line, Singer now baiting his time, deciding when he can hit the line, and he hits it dead on perfect.
Well, Vic said after this semifinal round, I'm going to do my best to give him a 990. Right on, 990.
Yes, thank God, gee whiz. All I got to say is thanks for Lenny 17 for getting me here. He helped me put the car back together so I could get it here. I thank the Lord for everything he's done for me, man. I'll tell you.
Did you ever see Ed on the way down the racetrack?
Yeah, I did. He was right alongside of me all the way down. It wasn't an easy race, I'll tell you that.
What did you think? I won, I lost, maybe, if?
I don't know. I looked over at the scoreboard on his side, and I didn't see his wind light on, but I wasn't sure. It was a tough race. It wasn't an easy one.
You earned this one. Congratulations.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's your TRW champion right there.
Thank you.
In Super Gas, one of the toughest classes in all of sportsman drag racing.
Back at the starting line, the Sportsman All Stars competition continues. Now in competition Eliminator. In the near side, Rick Horde ready to take on Jim Warder.
And this has been the story of the borrowed cars. Jim Warder, one of the borrowees of the G-Altered with a 929 index. Horde with the D-Altered 880. There you see the subtraction. 49 hundredths of a second will go to Jimmy Warder in the far lane. Will it be enough?
Well, Rick Horde will have to sit and watch and hold on just a little bit, not be distracted by the fact that the other car leads earlier. You concentrate on the tree.
Horde had a terrible light. He just did not have the reaction time on the starting line, and it killed him. Jimmy Warder, Washington State, the winner, 883, 152 miles per hour.
Well, despite the light, Horde was almost able to chase Warder down. We look at him here coming to the finish line, and that is Horde on the near side, but he doesn't have enough to chase Jim Warder down. Let's go to Steve.
Well, both Superstock and Comp now have gone to drivers in borrowed cars. Jimmy Warder, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Boy, this is a dream come true. I've just got nothing but Jack Lasser to thank for it.
The TRW competition is very special to all of you. It's a chance, well, for you and I to talk, for one thing.
Yeah, it's the first time. Yeah, we've been in a couple final rounds. We've never won one before. This is the dream come true.
And over $60,000 in cash. That doesn't hurt anybody's racing budget. In fact, it can only help.
Yeah, you bet. You bet.
Jimmy, you've been drag racing a long time.
Yeah, 26 years. I might add, I've had the same partner for 26 years, Mackie Smith, and we have never had an argument in 26 years.
A lot of married couples can't say that.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Well, the alcohol finals are coming up next.
Here at National Trail Raceway, only 2 more final rounds to be accomplished. In the NHRA TRW Sportsman All Stars, I'm Steve Evans along with Paul Page, and that is Bob Newberry. We've said it before, it bears repeating. He accomplished it. He was the first into the fives with an alcohol funny car. Pat Austin, well, that big number 1 has been on there for 2 seasons, and it may be there for a 3rd, Paul.
Well, Pat Austin has been the TRW All-Star champion the past 2 years. Can he make it 3 in a row? Bob Newberry on the far side would like to dispute that possibility.
It's Austin away first, and Newberry fades. Newberry breaks. Austin's crew already with their fists in the air, twice as a matter of fact. He has won it for the third year, a 6.06 final execution of Newberry at 2:30.
A little wheel shake for Newberry and a 6.06 for Pat.
Well, it was a great run, and I feel sorry for Bob. I was hoping we could really put on a show, and it was going to be neck and neck all the way, but he had some problems, and I'd just like to take this time to thank Castrol and our very exciting Oldsmobile, and especially TRW.
All right, congratulations on the win.
Thank you.
Well, the Austin Dynasty and top alcohol funny car competition continues. Now it's time for, well, the same basic engine, only in the Dragster chassis.
And this is Wayne Selko as he comes up to the line, ready to face Tim Baxter, the last final in the TRW Sportsman All Stars. Steve?
Pat Austin, for the third consecutive year, is the TRW champion in alcohol funny car. Feels good, huh?
Great. Castrol bitch. That's it. Great. We're happy.
Newberry shook the tires apparently, but you were really on a good pass.
How did it run?
06.
All right. Yeah, that's good. We're happy. Yeah. We knew that, we're going to be a good runner. Just hope not to shake tires and put the power to it and get it on.
You know, this is a new trimmed-down version of the Pat Austin here.
Yeah. The team put me on a diet and they beat me to death, so it takes the weight off.
30 pounds is 100th. Can't hurt.
Got to do what you got to do, right?
Congratulations again.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Woo!
So with a very happy Pat Austin and his funny car victory at the line, one more run for the day. Top alcohol Dragster.
And what a story this car in the near lane has been. Coming in as an alternate, Tim Baxter has run a career best of 6:20, then fell off much slower. We just have to wait to see what he has in store for us now, as will Mr. Selko over in the other lane. He has been consistent, but not quite as quick as Baxter's been.
Baxter probably can't even believe that he's in here. Both cars in from the stage. They take the line. Baxter with a nice hole shot and carries it all the way to the finish with a 6:18.220. What a remarkable accomplishment.
No shoot on Baxter down here, Paul. Baxter heading for the sand trap. You can hear the car dragging on the pavement, but he dirt tracks it through the turn.
So Baxter gets it stopped and is the champion in top alcohol Dragster. Let's take a look once again. Baxter gets a nice hole shot here, really comes off the line nice and smooth. Selko is already beaten, though he really gives it a valiant try here. Coming to the finish line, now Baxter's advantage that began back at the starting line picks up all the way with an ET of 6:18. Let's go to Steve.
This has been a day of drag racing that the Jayhawker, Tim Baxter, will never forget as long as he races. It all started back Thursday, even before our cameras were here, when you were into the sand trap. It ended with you again in the sand trap, but this time the TRW champ, and listen to this, 6:18.
Oh, that's our best time ever, huh? I don't know what to say. I'm so happy. Norm, my dad, my brother, they all pitched in. We've got some problems figured out, and I think the car's going to fly.
Talk about some wide performance swings from 6:18 to 6:70s. The alternate, I mean, this is unbelievable.
Yeah, we're having trouble dropping holes, but when it runs all the way through on all 8 cylinders, it flies.
Obviously, and into the sand. Good job of driving there, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Celebrate.
Hey. Hi, Lindsay and Lacey. Penny. That's all I got to say.
So congratulations to Tim Baxter and all of our winners here today. And Division I, well, they become the first division to repeat as champions at the TRW Sportsman All Stars. This is Paul Page for Steve Evans. So long from Columbus.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John V. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the Style Auto World Championship Team. The nation's premier source of fast lane fashions, Style Auto, the champion's choice for the style of your life. And by this special offer from Diamond P.
1989 is one drag racing season you won't want to forget. 19 national NHRA events, championships too close to call, and some spectacular incidents. That's why you should order Diamond P Video's Drag Racing 89. And we've added 30 minutes this year. That means 120 minutes of drag racing for just $39.95. So call 1-800-453-8800 now. Drag Racing 89. 120 minutes of the best drag racing action from all across America and Canada. Visa and MasterCard accepted, no CODs. That's 1-800-453-8800 for Drag Racing 89.
The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond V Sports.